Well, happy, beautiful, amazing day. Dr. Bob Rakowski here with this edition of the Dr. Bob Rakowski podcast. We've got Dr. Gayla McKenzie-Straughn here. Nearly 40 years of service to humanity as a functional medicine practitioner. Lots of solid background, including naturopathy, chiropractic, clinical nutrition. You integrate all of those things, and you're kind of part of a passion project right now. I don't know if we want to jump into healthychild.love. What a great name. But Gayla, what do you want to tell people about your mission and what we can look forward to discovering here today?
Well, my mission right now is to help kids because I don't know, I'm sure you've seen the same thing. But in the last 25, probably 30 years, I'm seeing more sick kids now than I ever did in the 80s. And if you go to hhs.gov in May of 25, they just published the Make America Healthy Again report and a Make America's Children Healthy Again report. And the statistics are pretty crazy compared to back in the 80s when I think you started practice too, maybe. Yeah.
Yep.
More than 40% of American children now have at least one chronic health condition. So we're seeing so much asthma now, especially allergies and obesity, autoimmune diseases, behavioral disorders, things we never saw in the 80s. Fatty liver disease didn't exist in the 80s. Now I'm a 12-year-old who just came in about a month ago with fatty liver disease and autoimmune diseases. I mean, I have a 10-year-old who has two autoimmune diseases, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis and psoriatic arthritis. Um, I had a Crohn's patient come in, 12 years old, about a month ago, Crohn's disease. So we're seeing a lot of inflammatory bowel disease in children, cancer we're seeing in kids. Uh, Over 1 in 4 American children suffer from either allergies, eczema, or seasonal allergies. So I do a lot of allergy work in my practice, and it's just skyrocketed in the last 20 to 30 years. Between 97 and 2018, the food allergy prevalence, according to the MAHA report, it increased 88%. Celiac disease, we're seeing that too. That's increased fivefold since the 80s. So I don't know about you if you're seeing kids coming in with autism, but now 1 in 31 American children have autism. And again, it's skyrocketed. And these are CDC statistics. So this is why about 2.5 years ago, I was in the shower one day and I was just inspired to write a book. And so I came into my office and I started typing. And in 3 weeks, I had typed a 125-page book for children. And it was totally inspired because I feel like the book came through me, not from me. And then I hired an illustrator and we had the book illustrated and then we had it animated. And so we now have a 41-minute animated cartoon. And now for the past year, we've been working on a course. So now we have a 15-module, 15-week course. And it's for parents, for grandparents, for any caretaker, and for teachers. So we're hoping to release this sometime in July and get it out to the world. So that's what I've been doing.
Well, how wonderful. So let's start with that, right? Parents, grandparents, teachers, what are the major takeaways they're going to get from the book, from the course?
Well, it starts out, what I did was I took the leaky gut explanation. So intestinal permeability, as you know, and you see in practice, intestinal permeability or leaky gut is really the underlying root of most all the health problems we have coming into our office. Because if you have intestinal permeability or leaky gut, where undigested food particles or bacteria, anything that doesn't belong in the blood can leak through from the small intestine into the blood, the immune system reacts by producing inflammatory chemicals like cytokines that cause pain and histamines that cause the itchy skin with eczema, asthma, headaches. And so, what we've done with the book is we developed the Happy Tummy team, and there's 6 kids of different races They're all the same size. They're cute little kids with little white lab coats. And they are explaining to children why they have tummy pain, constipation, diarrhea, why they have headaches, why they have asthma or itchy skin. And we speak to the children in children's language. So it's designed for children who are 4 to about 11, 10 or 11. And then we developed an instructor's course. So that's why it's a 300-page course. It's double-sided, about 150 pages, all in color. And so we're teaching the parents or the school teacher how to teach the children. And then we have the children's course, and we refer to the animated cartoon, which is 41 minutes, and to the flip book throughout the course. And so there were 15 modules, and it starts out with Meet the Happy Tummy Teen. And we're actually going to use AI where, let's say, you relate to our little character, Kai. So Kai will come on during the course and he'll say to the parent or to the child, "Hi, Bob, how are you today? Is there something you didn't understand in what we just went over?" And the child will actually be able to communicate with an AI, avatar of our cartoon characters. And so we go through the whole digestive system, explain it to parents, then we explain it to the kids. We talk about the good guys, the probiotics. We have a whole chapter on the bad guys. And, glyphosate, everyone has a name, worst bacteria. The 3 food groups, we explain those, why they're important. And then we explain what leaky gut is. And it's animated, so the kids can actually see the lining in the small intestine opening and all the bad guys going through into the blood. Then we explain all of the things that can cause leaky gut. So we talk to kids about stress. We talk to kids about antibiotics and the sources and how they're getting it in their foods now, not just for any infection. We go through the bad guys and the white cell warriors. And anyway, we have 15 different modules where we go through everything. And in the end, we talk about the special tummy test. About
I had to run a couple of comments on this. So, 40% of kids having a chronic health issue. That way, by definition, a chronic health issue is one that is not prevented by vaccines. And we might argue that maybe they contribute to these chronic issues. And secondly, they don't just go away with medication, but that's where functional medicine shines. So Hippocrates, a couple thousand years ago, said all disease starts in the gut. Modern science says it's 90% we can go to the gut and or microbiome. But Glyphosate, that sounds like a very interesting character. I'm assuming he's a villain. Tell me about Glyphosate real quick.
Well, unfortunately, um, starting in the early 90s, almost all of our grains now are sprayed with Roundup weed killer, which is called a glyphosate. Also, a lot of our wheat is finished, it's dried. And so when we eat most of the grains in the United States, and some fruits and nuts contain glyphosate. And so what glyphosate does is glyphosate's actually a witch, and she opens the tight junctions. And what is stimulated is zonulin, and that's a chemical that wakes up glyphosate or zonulin, I'm sorry, and then she opens up the tight junctions, and then all the bad guys come in. So glyphosates are in our foods, and what Kennedy's trying to do at HHS is just get our food to be much like what we see in Europe, where the glyphosates are banned in most of the European countries. They don't put antibiotics. They don't inject their cows with antibiotics or give antibiotics to their cows. And they don't feed the animals foods that have glyphosates in them or Roundup weed killer. And that's why they probably don't have the incidence of health problems that we have in this country. So that's all he's trying to do is clean up our food, get rid of the nasty stuff, and go back to organic and grass-fed beef and wild-caught fish like we had in the 80s. And it's probably why we're still healthy at our ripe old ages.
Yeah, I think the 80s when in Michael Pollan's book, In Defense of Food, a very powerful line. He said, something strange started happening. Food started flying off the shelves of the grocery stores and being replaced by food-like substances. And then we start looking at people like Casey Means and talking about good energy and how big tobacco took over big food to make it addictive with chemicals. So do you have some hardline, just fast principles for parents? So you're gonna tell them, if God made it, like Jack LaLanne said, if God made it, it's okay. If man made it, stay away. What you have any simple pearls you want to share with parents or grandparents or people?
Often as you can, buy organic. And if you can't, and these are some of the things we're going to be talking about, with our book, we're going to have affiliates where you can grow vegetables in your house. So if you live in an area called the food desert where you can't get organic vegetables and fruits, sometimes you can't even get vegetables and fruits in these, inner city areas. You can grow them. They have towers, and it's great for the kids because they learn how to, you know, put the water in and they watch the plants grow, just like if they lived out in the country and they could have a garden. So those are the kind of helpful hints we're going to be giving the parents and the children is you can grow your own food in your house. And then as much as possible, try to get grass-fed, grass-finished beef like we had in the 80s that doesn't have glyphosate and they don't have antibiotics. And also farm fish is not good because the fish are also given antibiotics and their feed has glyphosate. So as much as possible, wild caught fish.
So I might add, there's some different articles about autism, and they call glyphosate, and I thought you said Glenn, but it's Gwen, right? Wicked Witch Gwen glyphosate, and even different antibiotics. They specifically call out augmentin as being autism accelerators. And now we know that both of those are really, really, really bad for the gut. So you mentioned this autoimmune crisis for children as well. What are the leading candidates for what's causing this pandemic of autoimmunity?
It's the leaky gut because if every day, let's say you have a leaky gut and you've developed an allergy to eggs, which is very, very common, or dairy, which is the most common, probably the number one allergen among children in the United States, according to the American Pediatric Association, is dairy products. If every day you're eating cheese and you're allergic to dairy, every day your immune system is attacking. And over time, and it takes about 4 to 10 years, over time, if your immune system's attacking eggs or wheat or dairy day after day, eventually your immune system goes haywire and then it starts attacking you. If it attacks your thyroid, it's Hashimoto's thyroiditis. If it attacks your gut, it's inflammatory bowel disease like Crohn's disease, which we're seeing in children now, and also the colitis we're seeing in teenagers. So it depends. If it attacks your skin, it could be psoriasis or eczema. So those are some of the immune diseases.
Now, I want to expand on a couple of those real quickly. So, part of your intro, you talked about celiac going up about 500%, and they've correlated that directly with the genetic modification of gluten. So, I might just ask your opinion. Do you think that is mostly that the protein gluten has been altered in a way where the body doesn't recognize it, or do you think there's more glyphosate? There actually is now being sprayed because of that genetic modification, or maybe both. Do you have a feel for that?
I would say it's both. I have patients. I had a patient come in last August. I do a lot of allergy work. She had migraines every day. She was highly allergic to dairy, and she ate cheese, and highly allergic to gluten. I didn't have a chance to do the allergy work that I do with her. She went to Europe. Her daughter lives in Italy. She was in Italy for 3 weeks. She ate cheese and pasta every day and never had a migraine. And she came back to the States and she said, you know what? I must be better. The minute she had dairy or gluten in the United States, her migraines came back. Even more remarkable, you're talking about autism. I had a child come in about 3 weeks ago, severely autistic. Started at 18 months. I'm not going to get into the history because I don't want to get controversial, but you can probably guess what happened.
Yeah,
And
that's what happens most of the time with my autistic kids, by the way. Of like 99 out of 100, the parents are 100% certain there was a medical procedure that preceded the autism.
that was it. He was a perfectly normal 18-month-old, talking, walking, making eye contact. The next day, he's been gone. He's 4 years old now. He's in diapers. He can't talk. He doesn't make eye contact. But the parents took him to Europe 6 months ago. he started trying to communicate and making eye contact. And then the minute I got back to the States and he was eating, yogurt every morning and wheat every morning and all the foods he was allergic to, he had, the severe reaction came back was all the glyphosates and the antibiotics, and he's completely gone again. So, yeah. So I'm all
Let's go into the differences, right? So Europe doesn't allow glyphosate. It doesn't allow the genetically modified foods.
right.
Not only that, but there's a bunch of the other poisons in the environment. I was reading, I asked AI a question. I like the fact that you programmed AI to give good functional medicine answers. But I said, how many toxins is the typical person exposed to just through personal care, brushing their teeth, washing their face, taking a shower, and if it's a female, putting on their makeup before they leave in the morning, it's between 80 and 100 different toxins, of which the vast majority of those are illegal in Europe. So it's not just food, it's literally everything. And I was listening to Dr. Oz just the other day, and he said, when he got into clinical practice, the life expectancy in Europe was the same as it is here in the US. Now they outlive us by 5 years, despite spending half of what we spend, and their time is better time. So it seems to be a little bit of everything. And people are listening to this. Go to Europe for 3 weeks. I eat pretty much what I want to eat when I go to Europe. And I'll tell you what, I come back leaner, happier. It's just a beautiful experience.
Yes. Yes. I've been gluten-free for probably 25 years because I get severe abdominal pain if I eat gluten in the United States. We went to Cayman Islands on vacation in January. Their food comes from Europe. I had a muffin every day. It was so wonderful to have my favorite muffin.
Yeah, they used to come up with a condition here. They called it orthorexia nervosa, where they thought people were just too rigid about their food. But I think we almost have to be.
Yeah.
We've distorted the food supply, and then you just take a little bit of bad food and and a gut that's a little off, and you get this compounding effect, which is very, very negative. So food is going to be very, very important. Are there any types of nutritional supplements, for instance, that you think are nearly universal for kids?
I usually recommend for most all the kids a very high quality multivitamin that doesn't contain sugar, and there are some good ones. And then I recommend a probiotic for kids. I recommend vitamin D and I recommend fish oil. Those are kind of the four basics that I recommend. But when the kids are really sick, then we do a DNA stool test. I'm sure you do also. And whatever we find, if we find pathogens or dysbiotic bacteria, we kill them. If like parasites, we kill them. So we first do that killing stage and we kill the bad guys. We put the good guys back in with probiotics, prebiotics, and then we seal that gut lining with gut sealing products that contain glutamine and zinc, and there's some really good ones that taste good.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? Not just for kids, but everybody. I'm going to take a moment, go to bettercoffeeshop.com. Reishi, this is the best organic coffee in the world. Reishi, by the way, is a prebiotic, a probiotic. It can kill pathogens, nourish the body, mind, and spirit. And yes, we even do have nutraceuticals for kids that are basically tasteless. You spray it on their food and nourish their body, mind, and spirit. So besides nutraceuticals, you have a strong background in functional medicine and other modalities. Are there other things that you like to do to help these kids and their families besides good education, good nutrition?
Well, I do something called NAET, Nambutrapad Allergy Elimination Technique. There are practitioners all over the world. So when I do online consulting with patients, if they're on the East Coast or they're in Europe, I just tell them to just put in NAET practitioner in your city, and you'll find a practitioner. But it's a non-invasive allergy elimination technique. The doctor who developed it was an acupuncturist, among other things. And she discovered in 1986 that if you stimulate acupuncture points up and down the back with acupressure, so we don't use needles, um, while you're contacting an allergen, somehow, and I have no idea how this works, it eliminates an allergy. It's an amazing tool. When I went through medical school, didn't do residency, so can't say I'm MD, but I'm foreign. I did all my hospital work. And I was doing a pediatric rotation here in San Diego with a doctor who did this. And during the 6 month period I was with her, she said you should learn how to do NAET. And when she said it was energy medicine, I'm like, I'm not going to do energy medicine. And, but I was getting headaches all the time. And I had done an allergy test and I was off the chart, allergic to eggs and dairy and, oh, cinnamon and curry and garlic. And I'm so French. I lived in France for 2 years. And to not eat garlic, but I couldn't, or I'd have a headache. I went through the clearing process. Long story short, I have an egg every day. And 25 years ago, I would have a headache. And haven't had a headache in 25 years since went through the clearing process. So that's something else that I do with the kids.
Well, I've got to tell you, being a science-minded guy, you start talking about energy medicine, and you and I had a little conversation about Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's really the grand poobah of energy, and people don't know his story. He was a chiropractor. He got run over by a van while doing a triathlon. They wanted to put rods in his spine. He said, no, I think I can heal. And you know what? He really figured out how to harness his healing energy and apply it to his body, but now really applying it all over the world. My rule in clinical practice is when in doubt, acupuncture, because moving that body energy can be very, very miraculous. I'm going to encourage people, if you deal with food sensitivities, food allergies, gut distress, look up NAET, Nabutropon Allergy Elimination Technique. I had an associate doctor, and he said, Baba, yeah, I can't believe how effective this is. He says, I was very, very skeptical until I had my own personal benefit and then started, really communicating with people that had it. And then he applied it so effectively with so many people. So let's go with some stories. You have a few cases that you want to share, maybe a few different demographics of how maybe the kids brought them in, but really the whole family transformed, because that's usually what I see happen. Yes. Parents realize, wait a minute, we didn't know what kind of good choices to lead our child to. And when you realize it's good for them, can help them resolve those issues, it's really good for everybody. So how about a few wonderful stories?
Okay. Had a 12-year-old come in about 2.5 months ago. Severe Crohn's disease, diarrhea every 2 hours, unbelievable pain, constant abdominal pain, failure to grow. He was 12 years old. He weighed 83 pounds. He wasn't growing. He couldn't gain weight. He was quite short. And he had no energy. He was exhausted all the time, so he couldn't do anything, couldn't play sports. I saw him on a Monday. I did my evaluation, identified all the foods that he was reacting to, took away all those foods, cleared him on the first food group, put him on 2 medical foods, which you're probably familiar with, the Ultra 360 anti-inflammatory medical food and the GI Replenish. I put him on the SPMs to reduce inflammation. There's a marker that we look at in medicine called calprotectin, should be 0. His was over 4,000. So his GI doctor wanted to put him on a biologic like Remicade, which it has serious side effects long-term. And the mother read the side effects and she decided she did not want to go the drug route. So she brought him in. I saw him on a Monday. He stopped eating all the foods. He's the most compliant 12-year-old I've ever seen. He stopped eating everything that he was reacting to. He started the medical foods. I saw him on Wednesday. 2 days later, no stomach pain, no diarrhea. It's been over 2 months now. He's having his second test actually tomorrow to check his calprotectin because he's seeing his GI doctor next week. And we are very hopeful that his calprotectin is way down because he hasn't had any pain or diarrhea it's over 2 months. He took a trip with his dad to Washington, D.C. 2 weeks ago, and he was fine. He's still very careful, but he was fine. So that's one recent, very good story.
I want to add a few comments before you go into the next one. One, brilliant. I was taught years ago, if you're not assessing, you're guessing. So you're looking at those markers, you're getting some quantified. Over 4,000, that's not off the chart. You even need a whole new category. That is so extreme. Now you use medical foods. For people that don't know, those are substances that have a proven medical benefit, guaranteed potency, guaranteed purity, proven effectiveness in human clinical trial with every nutrient recognized as safe. And then you really spoke my language when you're talking about SPMs, specialized pro-resolving mediators. There's now over 2,000 published studies on those. Those are the bridge between chronic inflammatory process and recovery. And I'll tell you what, I educate my patients every single day on those because they just say, well, why don't I just go with a regular fish oil? because for some people, the regular fish oil might have just a few percent of the benefit of what you would get with the resolving form. A few percent, multiply that out 30, 40, 50 times the benefit by using the right form. So well done, every part of that case, and God bless that boy and the wonderful family. And sounds like we got time for one more. So let's share another beautiful case.
One of my favorites. This is a little baby. Oh, he was so cute. 6 months old. When the parents brought him in, he cried the entire time and scratched till his skin was bleeding. He was up every 2 hours all night nursing. He was 6 months old and he refused to eat any baby food. He would only nurse. The parents had not been able to sleep together for months because the father had to work and he had to sleep. The mother was hysterical because she was so sleep deprived. We did the NAET with him. We do surrogate. We actually work through the parent when we do it on a child. And I know we don't have a lot of time, but I'll go fast forward. I started seeing him in December. We cleared him of all his allergies. We put him on, I don't know if you use biocidin, but it's a product that we use with babies because liquid, it's a drop, and you can give 1 drop to a 10-pound baby, 3 drops to a 30-pound baby. Works great, kills anything that's bad in the GI tract, but does not kill any of the good probiotics. It's a wonderful product for children and babies. 1st of February, he was done. Dad came in with the mom, thanked me. He was back with his wife in the house. Baby was happy, completely clear, eating food. Everything was great. So that was one of my favorite stories because he was just a little 6-month-old baby.
Well, how beautiful, right? And now some people have to expand their belief or their consciousness to realize that you mentioned something that's a little controversial, but actually doing what we call surrogate testing. Don't get too hung up on that, but just know that there are cases like this where, oh my gosh, the results are absolutely indisputably wonderful. Open your mind, open your consciousness. There's a world of healing out there if we're open to receive it. So this has been a beautiful conversation. Where can people reach you? What's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
My website is drgayla.com. It's just DR. And my name is Gail with an A on the end. So it's drgaila.com. It's simple. I'm actually in the process right now of redoing it, but probably by this time this airs, it'll be up.
And you got that course coming out. And I'll tell you what, there's plenty of pearls for everybody here. We've got to take better care of our kids. I always let my kids know, and now my grandkids, my number one job is to protect them. And a lot of times we protect them is by knowing what's a good choice and what's not. And you've been wonderful for 40 years helping the planet. And I trust that we're going to get a lot of leverage on this, bring a lot of people to your beautiful course. So I thank you for this. And as always, I'm Dr. Bob Rakowski, absolutely knowing that we can all be happy, healthy, and successful.